Hypixel has a lot of minigames. In fact, they even have the Guinness World Record for the most minigames on a single Minecraft server. But with the sheer number of minigames on Hypixel, there's bound to be a few that end up being removed and completely forgotten. From Skyclash to Invaders to even an entire Battle Royale game. These are Hypixel's removed and forgotten minigames. Skyclash. This minigame was first released in beta on September 11, 2016, immediately becoming one of Hypixel's most popular games. Skyclash was meant to combine the aspects of Skywars and Blitz survival games, but of course adding in some new twists. Unlike how most minigames are operated mainly in UIs nowadays, Skyclash had a unique class system that operated through an in-lobby board instead. Here, you could choose which class you were going to use, as well as choose from a selection of perks, or cards as they were known in this game. Cards could either be obtained by doing in-game quests, or purchasing card packs from the Witch NPC, which would then give you a randomized selection of cards. Skyclash also had a feature where you could upgrade cards if you received enough duplicates of them. You were also able to level up the classes too. They could all be leveled up 8 times with the final tier being called the Master Upgrade. Skyclash provided a variety of unique weapons when playing in-game. Anything from swords that could strike lightning to bows that shot TNT. Skyclash had it all. And at the time, the game was performing incredibly well, to the point that on October 6, 2016, the game was officially released out of beta, even being added to the game compass as a fire charge icon. Mega Mode was also introduced with the release, and it was basically the same as the Skywars Mega Mode, but of course for Skyclash instead. Updates continued rolling out for Skyclash, including new maps, new cards, and other tweaks. But after about 2 years, the game slowly started losing its player base. This was also around the time that Bed Wars was released, only contributing to the fall of Skyclash's player count even more. Joining a full lobby slowly became more and more infrequent as players kept leaving, either to play Bed Wars or just the traditional Skywars. All team-based modes basically became unplayable as there were never enough players. And eventually on May 2nd, 2019, the inevitable happened. A forum post was made stating the removal of Skyclash, and in that forum post the following was said: "We have also decided that now is a good time for us to address an issue with Skyclash, where the player count is too low for games to even start past a few per day. We also feel the game has run its course and it would be better to remove it and make room for future games. As such, Skyclash is not included in the new game menu." And this marked the end of Skyclash. The small player base of Skyclash tried to oppose this decision and even provide alternatives to its removal, but in the end it was a wasted effort. To this day, the removal of Skyclash is still one of Hypixel's most controversial moves.
Nice job, team.
Tower Wars. Have you ever wanted to play a tower defense game on Hypixel? Well, you can't now obviously, but a few months back you certainly could. Tower Wars was released back on January 9th, 2019, in the prototype lobby. The game at its core was just your average tower defense game. You could place down different defenses such as skeleton archers, slimes, magmas, Tesla creepers, and more. And for the 0.00002% of people who don't know how a tower defense works, I'll explain it briefly. Each round, hordes of enemies will try to make it to the end of your path, which in most cases causes you to lose health. This is less than ideal. So, to counter that, you place down defenses to brutally destroy them, which will give you currency, which can then be used to purchase more towers. And in the case of Tower Wars, there are 6 different teams, each with their own lane. You all start off with 20 health and lose 1 each time a mob reaches the end of your lane. The only way to gain health is to have one of your mobs reach the end of someone else's path. This continues until everyone reaches 0 health or until the hour of playtime is up. There was a small player base playing Tower Wars, but the game wasn't living up to what the admins had hoped. And as such, on February 1st, 2022, Tower Wars was removed from the prototype lobby and Hypixel completely. And the post announcing its removal stated, "The prototype lobby is a place for us to test games, and unfortunately, Tower Wars was not as poppin' as we thought it could be. We enjoyed it while it lasted, but we have to clear up the lobby for more game ideas." While Tower Wars was never met with the same amount of success that Skyclash had, the post did still have over 230 dislikes. Hypixel's Battle Royale. You remember that one little indie game from 2017? I think it was called Fortnite?
Fortnite
Battle Royale.
It wasn't that well known, just like barely breaking 300 million players. Well, since that game sorta took over the internet back then, Hypixel had the unique idea to release their own Battle Royale game, but in Minecraft instead. Introducing Hypixel's Battle Royale. Drop from a dragon onto a huge map with 80 other players. Loot up for weapons, food, blocks, and other utility. Left click as hard as your fingers will let you and avoid the closing storm. And maybe, just maybe, you'll end up getting that coveted Victory Royale.
Oh, let's go! That's class!
So, summarized, it was basically Fortnite without guns and in Minecraft. It was released to a moderate amount of players, but it ended up being removed on September 6, 2018, just 9 months after it was released back in January. The main reason for its removal was due to the limitations of Minecraft, and it just not turning out the way the admins had hoped. It was also basically the same as Hunger Games anyways, and as such, Battle Royale was completely removed from Hypixel. Crazy Walls. Way back near the start of the Hypixel server in 2012, a minigame called Walls was released. It was incredibly popular and can still be played to this day. However, one of its spin-offs, Crazy Walls, can no longer be played. Introduced back in 2015, Crazy Walls played very similarly to Walls, as you'd expect. How this minigame worked is there'd be 16 bases. You'd each have a certain amount of time to loot up and mine ores. You would use said ores to sell to the shopkeeper, which could grant you some pretty powerful items, such as diamond armor, enchanted swords, bows, and other consumables. You could also obtain lucky blocks, either by mining or purchasing them from the shopkeeper using eliminated player heads. There were various lucky block types that would each drop their corresponding items. For example, a healing lucky block would drop potions and other things in that nature, and after the preparation phase was over, the green walls would drop first. This would cause 4 sets of 4-player fights taking place. After some time fighting, the red walls would drop, causing the last few players to fight it out. If the players weren't able to kill each other during this time, or someone was just camping, deathmatch would begin. This would cause the border to move in slowly, forcing players to fight each other, until someone eventually won. However, this minigame would end up being removed on the 24th of June 2022. There was a fairly large forum post giving the reasoning behind its removal, but it boiled down to the fact that the server had over 40 plus minigames and it needed to let go of some of the games that were falling behind. With Crazy Walls having about 12 players online at most times, and peaking at only around 60, this was just bound to happen eventually. Invaders. Released on December 15th, 2021, this was one of the shortest-lived prototype games ever, and it's a shame because the game's concept was incredibly interesting. Here's how it worked. The game would start off with 4 different teams. Each team would spawn inside their very own spaceship, starting off with 0 energy. You'd be given a jetpack that could be upgraded by your assistant Jeeves, and you would also be given a sword, a pickaxe, and a space blaster. The goal of the game was to repair your ship by increasing your energy to 100%, and there were multiple ways to do that. First off, you could complete fetch quests that Jeeves would provide, each quest requiring the players to venture out to various islands. On these islands, you would mine and collect resources, while also dodging its inhabitants, as well as other players. If you managed to collect the necessary amount of resources, you could return to your ship and deposit them in front of Jeeves. He would then use them to repair a part of the ship, providing you with a boost to your overall energy. After you've completed all the quests, the only way to gain more energy is by mining energy cubes. These could be found in the enemy team's ships, and if you were able to successfully mine one without being detected, you could bring it to your ship to increase your power. You would continue guarding your energy cubes and obtaining new ones throughout the game's 20-minute time limit. The team with the most power at the end would win. The game worked somewhat similarly to Bed Wars in a sense that you'd be collecting resources from other islands and upgrading your equipment. Unfortunately, the game was met with very few players, also having a very low hype meter. The game was also just too complex for new players to understand, and as such, Invaders was removed from Hypixel on March 15th, 2022, becoming one of the shortest lasting minigames on Hypixel to date. Hypixel is always adding new minigames and trying out new ideas, and it's likely that some of them won't turn out great, but all the games I've listed here still don't deserve to be forgotten, whether they were popular at one point like Skyclash or never really reached widespread success, like most of the removed prototype games. There was still an effort made to develop and to release them. So there you have it, these were Hypixel's forgotten minigames.